Oh, Matthew's coming too. Keep an eye out for him. He is coming.
Okay, so we are now recording the February 8th, 2019 Small Business Accounting Advisors. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So we're going to do things a little different today. We're going to talk about document management. So that is going to be our subject. Lisa, you have 20 questions you want answered. I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, it kind of segues in with our conversation just a moment ago with what Mariette was saying. I know for tax returns, we can have some pretty basic, pretty general financials, but we're also helping our clients. And for example, we just talked about with Linda, if you have a property management company, they're going to need a little more detail. So I like to get the source documents, and they may tell me it's gas for their truck, or it may be gas for an equipment, or I might need to break out the plumbing, the drywaller, because the company needs to know it. So we have two responsibilities. We need to track stuff for the tax return, but then there's often a lot more detail that our companies need to manage their companies. So I know a lot of times we can just download these transactions from the bank statement and just pop them into general expenses and off we go. But for these clients that need a lot more detail, and I actually have a property management company, Linda, it sounds like you do too. Not only do I need the detail of what was spent on cleaning and what was spent on landscaping, but I need to know which property. So I need classes. So with that, I've worked with I have my clients trained, and it's great. They write on every one of their invoices, property name, they want it coded to cleaning, they want it coded, they give me all the detail. It's fabulous. So I want to start automating this now, because I'm in a small town and we've just been doing it by paper. So I've used Hubdoc. I tried to use Receipt Bank, but I was on the very scaled down version, and they didn't even have sub accounts. And again, some of this detail we need, you might have materials, but again, they want to know a little more for their own purposes. So, and I hear Shay here has some experience in this, and I'd love to get his input, because when these clients send it to me, I like to see the invoice that I'm going to be coding, because sometimes they're really good at coding and sometimes they're wrong. They've missed a small equipment that I really need to set up for tax purposes, or large equipment, So let's just maybe start there and draw on some people's experiences. We've heard a lot about Receipt Bank, Neat's coming out. I've heard great things about AutoEntry. That's one I'm very interested in. Hubdoc I've been using and I like it. It does not work with desktop. I'm interested in something that might work with both. I still have clients on both. The search function in Hubdoc is amazing. Not sure I like it so much in Receipt Bank. I haven't used AutoEntry. So these are just some general questions to get started. Like I said, I know I have 20, but maybe just to start, Shay, you've used 2 or 3 of these different services, haven't you?
Yeah, we tried Receipt Bank for a little while, and then we decided to go to AutoEntry instead.
Okay.
Partially because the cost for entry with Receipt Bank is pretty high. It's $250 a month.
I know it's not cheap.
To have everything, like if you want to have all the features that you need, you have to spend $250. And while you only have, before you get maybe 20 some clients on there, that's a lot of money to be spending on 1 or 2.
And when we canceled, they charged us again.
Wow.
Getting back to me. We had already paid for that month. We canceled 5 days in, and they charged us again.
You know what, Megan? I signed up for the really basic version, and I went to go cancel, and I got this great customer service representative who's really trying to work with me. I'll email you her contact information. Okay, side note.
I had a guy that actually reached out to me. Sorry. I had a guy that reached out to me from Receipt Banks. I can tell we're already going to kind of push that away. And he reached out to me, met me at QuickBooks Connect in Toronto, and he said to me, "Oh, I want to meet with you. You're a big Hubdoc user. I'm going to move you all the way over because I'm all QBO. I don't do the desktop anymore, and it works great." But he said, we'll even bring your stuff over. It's going to be fabulous. And then he asked me how many clients I had and what I was paying Hubdoc, and he goes, "It's not going to work. I'm too expensive." He said, "When you get to the threshold of 20 clients, call me and then you'll probably save money." But he was really cool. They were really, really nice. And they were going to actually take my Hubdoc and make it into Receipt Bank and do all the mapping that I've already done on all my clients. Because I've got construction ones that have that already in place. because I love the receipts. I've got the guys, when they go to the store, they go to Home Depot and they write the job name down and everything on it for me, and they upload it in the driveway, they're in the parking lot. So I've got them to do that process so it can get put in. But was kind of fearful. I didn't want to lose. I love Hubdoc. So,
I like Hubdoc too, but it doesn't work with desktop, and I have clients on both. But I still want to hear Shay's experience because you guys moved to AutoEntry.
Yeah, a few of the things that I really liked about AutoEntry is that you could do more with it. You can process income with it instead of just processing expenses.
Oh, that's nice.
At the moment, I think it can only publish to QB. I mean, I think I have to look into it because we've only used it with QBO clients.
I think they're desktop too. I talked to QuickBooks Connect. I think they're desktop.
Okay. And so I think at the moment they can only publish invoices. They can't do sales receipts. But depending on your workflow, that can work.
Yeah, no, that's an upgrade from, I don't think Receipt Bank does income.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Was it easy to learn?
I think I'm still kind of still learning a little bit. I found that there are a few glitches just with the software. Like if I tell it to remember something, it doesn't always remember. I'm still working on just like the best way to use it. I found that because we have it integrated with Bill.com, and we found that sometimes stuff doesn't come over correctly into Bill.com. Like maybe the class will be missing or the document will be missing. Like big things will just not be there when they get to Bill.com. So I think they've got some work to do on that integration.
Does the integration work seamlessly with QBO?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it works really well. There's a lot of different things you can do with on the expense side too. I like that you can, like in Receipt Bank, you can publish either as a bill or as an expense. But in AutoEntry, you can publish both a bill and a bill payment at the same time from a document. So if you want to make sure the bill is in a certain time frame, and maybe the payment didn't happen until the next month or something, you can have all of that just by coding one document. You can put in the payment date as well.
Can you differentiate with bills that need to be paid and ones that have been paid?
Yes.
That's easy to do? Okay, that's important.
So when you can choose to publish it over as a bill or as an expense. And you can publish it over as a bill, and then if you mark it as paid as a bill, it'll create a bill and a bill payment. Whereas
Excellent.
if you publish it over as a bill that's not paid, it's just the bill.
Okay, good. That's an important feature because with my property management, some are paid on credit card and some I need to pay. We have landscapers and stuff here that we still write paper checks for. So I need to have that flexibility. That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's a couple of other features that I really haven't explored as much as, just because I haven't needed them all that much, but they can scan entire bank statements and pull out the line items.
And that's what I'm looking at. We've got a couple of clients that this month we are setting up on QBO, and we need to get in like a whole year's worth of stuff. And so we'll get to test that out, in the next couple of weeks and see that whole scan of bank statement and having that come through as individual transactions that we can then code.
Nice.
Cool. I'm excited about that.
I want to hear about that. Come back in a couple of weeks and let us know.
Yeah, So can you see as Linda and I have just shared, we've got our construction guys trained very well to write on the receipt so we know where to code it. Can you view the receipt right there as you're verifying the coding? You can see the receipt?
Yeah, and actually one thing that I kind of wasn't sure about when I first looked at the mobile app was that when they take a picture and scan a receipt, the only details they can add are, I think as far as I remember, it's just the class and location.
Nope.
Has it changed?
I do this because I'm the one that's uploading stuff from my phone. Right?
I don't make a lot of purchases. So.
I think we can choose, you can't choose the account, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, you can't choose the expense account?
No, but maybe it keeps them from, keeps your end user from jacking stuff up. But I can choose and I can choose the payment account.
Right.
That's interesting.
And I think the location, right? Because we're using location.
Well, that's the one thing I do like about Hubdoc is it memorizes it, so it speeds it up so much. And then for the few that change, especially for I have a one that does moped rentals. So it's pretty much the same stuff every month. And I got to check it, but then sometimes it changes. So I got to quickly change it. I got to say I like that about Hubdoc.
But I think that
Right.
happens on.
It works the same way in AutoEntry.
And
Oh, it does.
it's visible to the end user on the mobile.
Okay.
Like it's remembering if you go this place, it's this account.
Okay,
Right.
so it remembers it. It's just the person submitting the receipt doesn't have that detail, but when you pull it over, it'll memorize it and say, "Do you want it to go here?"
And you
So
can
that's
actually,
similar.
what it does is it'll read the vendor on the receipt, and then you can decide what the vendor it's going to be coded to in QuickBooks is. So we don't bring any, like, we like to keep the vendor list clean. We don't bring any restaurant names in. We just have generic restaurant.
That's what we do too.
And so when it reads the same restaurant name more than once, it'll remember that you just call that restaurant. And then because it's a restaurant, it knows that it's always going to be like meals or whatever your like food account is.
Hubdoc does that too. That's beautiful. I like that.
Yep.
Great. So here's the other question. I'm sure it does split transactions because it seems like all of these Hubdoc, Receipt Bank, AutoEntry, they all do that. Can you do negative transactions?
You can do negative amounts in a positive transaction.
So I can have like 3 lines. I can have an expense, and then if I want to do a negative expense and a positive income or whatever I may choose.
Right. I think the balance has to be positive, but
okay,
yeah.
so no zero checks, but that's okay. Most of the time they are expenses. I just have to cover the other accounts I need to recognize with some things.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And it usually can actually read, like, depending on how you split them up, sometimes it can read how it should be split. It uses like the way that AutoEntry charges is on like a credit system.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So you pay for a certain number of credits, and then if you want to pull out line items on a receipt or something, it costs 2 credits versus if it's just a single line, it's 1 credit.
I've heard about this credit thing, but I've also heard that it's priced very well, that the credit system actually works pretty good. It makes it very reasonable.
It's really easy to scale up and down as you have more or less activity. And then just like that issue that we mentioned with Receipt Bank, where you have to kind of get everybody up and rolling right away. Otherwise,
it's not affordable.
It's not affordable. Whereas this, you can start with like a $10 plan and then move up as you need
That's
to.
nice. Does it allow sub-accounts?
Yes.
And they're easy. Somebody told me another one allowed sub-accounts, but it was really hard to find because if you had meals and then you broke down meals to travel meals and, I don't know, client meals or something.
I haven't had any
It would
issues.
just show a random list and you didn't know which account it went under.
So one thing that's sort of true with, I have to say they have some work to do with their Bill.com integration, because one thing that we realized is when we started using the integration is that they bring in all accounts, whether or not they are active or not from Bill.com, which makes it really messy. And then also it doesn't bring in account numbers or any structure. And so if you are using account numbers, then it's usually pretty easy, but I guess it could be trickier if you're not using account numbers.
Yeah, I don't usually use account numbers. I just have the sub-accounts. Okay, it does allow it, but...
it might be tough, like in this instance you're talking about where it's hard to find them. Yeah, we use sub-accounts, so it makes it, or I'm sorry, we use account numbers, so it makes it a little bit easier to find the accounts.
Can people put, is there a place, I guess, Megan, this might be for you as the app user, if they're going out to eat, can they put client names? Is there a place where they can put notes if they need to make notes to that receipt coming in?
I'm like pulling it up going, I gotta check, hold on.
Okay.
I've got another question also. I know you can pay the multiple credits and you can get the line items, but none of that stuff ever actually grabs like items, right? It's not if you had inventory items or whatever else. It's just the description that it pulls, if I remember correctly.
Right, and I don't exactly know how the rules work, but supposedly you could set rules maybe based on the description of like the line, and then it could fill in the account, maybe a billable customer, but you'd have to set those rules manually after after it's read it.
Okay.
But I haven't really used that before, so I don't want to like say that definitively.
And I just discovered no to the note.
Okay, so they probably have to write on the receipt before they took the image, which is fine too. Like Linda said, you said your guys in the parking lot write on the receipt and take their image. So that works too. I was just curious. I think Hubdoc does allow you to do notes when you, not maybe on the app, but if you log into once you're online. One of my clients was great about putting in her notes, so, okay. What does it do about matching downloads or catching duplicate receipts that were maybe already submitted or?
It generally tries to catch duplicates. It's got this kind of folder it calls rejected invoices or receipts. And one of the reasons it'll have for rejecting stuff is if it's a duplicate.
So it doesn't recognize it, okay.
If it reads the vendor and the invoice number, it usually can tell if it's a duplicate. I've noticed a couple times where like we've had duplicates come in because Megan and I both get the same email from the same provider and we both forward it in. And it doesn't always read the duplicate, that it's a duplicate, but sometimes. I can't say that it's perfect.
And does it match, if you already have something that was manually entered or manually downloaded, would it match that? If it had, like, let's say you're in QBO or desktop, whatever, and my client wrote a check. Well, then the invoice to the landscaper, then the invoice to the landscaper, then she uploads it. Will it match and recognize that the check was already wrote and then we're just going to attach that receipt to that check? Does it see the date and amount and vendor and go, this might be a match?
So I don't think it can match to existing transactions that are already in QuickBooks.
You'd have to watch for that. Okay.
Right. So generally the way I use it is I enter it from AutoEntry, I push it over, I publish it to QBO, and then I'll match it to the bank feed.
Okay.
It won't be able to tell if it's...
Okay, the bank feed will catch it as once you've brought it over from AutoEntry.
Right.
With AutoEntry, everything when you publish it, you're actually, in a sense, you're going through the back end, right? So you actually publish it and it becomes a purchase order or a bill or whatever you're creating, correct?
Right.
So that's why the difference being workflow-wise is really, really important when you're doing this. You have to leave your bank feeds untouched. You would need to do all of your pushes of data in first.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, you would then see more matches. So basically the magic is you leave the bank feeds and you get excited if you got everything matched. If you didn't, then you know you're not done yet.
Right.
Right. Or if yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Shay.
I was going to say, we've got a few things where it's like little one-offs where we just know we're not going to get receipts for them. And so those are sent on bank feed rules or whatever. And the rest of them I worry about. I try to match them all up to the bank feed.
Does it bring the image over in QuickBooks? So when you're looking at the transaction, you can just click on a link or the PDF or however they have it set up so you can do it right from there? Nice.
Yeah. Does Hubdoc do that?
Yes, instantly. Okay. As soon as you publish it, that second it's in QBO and you can see it right there. That's one thing I love. And it's a PDF. It's not a link that brings you some. Receipt Bank has that link that you have to go to. Hubdoc, it's a PDF right there.
Yeah, I think this is a PDF as well.
Yeah, like that.
I'm looking in here.
I have a client that sometimes, some of you guys might have these too, where they're a little slow in getting you the receipts, but you need to reconcile your bank statement, so you move on. And then you get a receipt that's 2 months old. And, oh, they've uploaded it. Yay, they're so happy they finally get it to you. So do you have experience with that? Do you just maybe save it as a PDF because it's already been recorded? And it probably wouldn't catch it, I guess, because it's so old. Do you guys, sounds like you're kind of new to AutoEntry, so maybe you haven't had
I'm a little new to AutoEntry. In that case, I might just file it. I would download it and file it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. Yeah.
Anything that's been reconciled through the bank feeds, as soon as you get up to your reconciled date, it's no longer going to try to look for a match automatic. It will actually stop at that point. But what you could do is you would need to go, if you reconcile, that transaction is going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
There would be that you could go in and basically unattach that bad one and reattach the new item into it instead.
Well, sometimes I don't even have an attachment. I mean, I just don't have anything. So I've just coded it because I know what it's for. But then what I'll do sometimes is just save it as a PDF and attach it on my own if I really want it in QuickBooks.
And
Yeah, you can cheat the system.
pulled in will be under your attachments area. And what you could actually do, this is kind of a weird workaround, but you could go to your attachments, find the right one. It would be one of the most recent ones. And then link, you could basically take, and it's manual, but you would attach that to the proper transaction that already reconciled to the bank.
Yeah, it is nice to have them there when you need to go look it up in 4 or 5 months for whatever reason. So I like to attach them if I can. Okay. So I guess I'm hearing Receipt Bank is not only expensive, but I personally don't like their search engine as much. But to get all the bells and whistles that we need, it's just not priced right. AutoEntry is priced right. Hubdoc, it sounds like a lot of us really like Hubdoc. If you're like me and you have clients still on both, you can't use Hubdoc for desktop. So it sounds like AutoEntry might be our winner that can do both. Or if you only have a client on desktop, you don't have Hubdoc as a choice, but AutoEntry sounds like the preferred choice among the people in this group today. Is everybody coming to that conclusion?
Sounds like it. And the guys that own that company, Matthew knows them. They're really great guys too.
The AutoEntry?
AutoEntry guys.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to application companies, that's always a big deal to me is actually the team itself. I mean, T-Sheets is a perfect example, right? When you've got a company that listens to its customers, actually implements like suggestions, and they're engaging with you, they will always win out in the end. And Tom is an awesome guy. Tom Port's he's hilarious. Brendan's a very nice guy as well. They've been around for a long time. AutoEntry is a newer name, but they were under OCRX before out in Europe. So they are not new to the game.
And Matthew, I think I want to give you a plug here because I've missed your presentations on VendorSync. I'm so sorry. But I want to know a little bit how that, if you're going to be using AutoEntry, for example, how does that partner with VendorSync?
Very good question. So the areas in which VendorSync can be complementary to multiple different applications, in other words, Hubdoc, LedgerSync, or AutoEntry. AutoEntry actually has the ability for the let's say this the right way, the bank statement transaction aspects of AutoEntry, where it will end up creating like a CSV for you. And if I haven't tried using the push of those CSV transactions into like QuickBooks Desktop. Do they do that actually? Do you guys know? Or do they just give you the file and then you can do something with it?
Who, AutoEntry? I haven't used AutoEntry yet.
Okay.
Shay may know, I don't know. Or Megan, those two are the ones that have been using AutoEntry at this group, I think.
Okay. So AutoEntry, assuming off of the idea from the bank reconciliation statement portion of it, where they're getting the statement and turning that into transactions, what the biggest difference would be is I don't believe AutoEntry syncs to QuickBooks Desktop to provide the same vendor names. I could be mistaken on that. But what would happen is if they're just giving you that file and you were having to pull transactions in, the true purpose of VendorSync is if you've got a bank file and a list of transactions, it gives you a faster way to pull up your vendor list and your full chart of accounts. So when you go to categorize your actual transactions, you're using the proper names from your account.
Okay.
Because everybody else screws that up. They have you typing and guessing, and then it's worthless.
Right.
Then most important, that's the core of it. But then the extra benefit is the Autosuggest. So we've built in Autosuggest. We built in Autosuggest that it looks for the payee name or vendor name in the memo field throughout everything. If it sees the vendor name, it will give you the suggestion for you to accept or not.
Wow.
We are just finishing up aliases, which has been a big, big deal of mine. So that's important because AT&T, AT space T, AT ampersand T, ATT, like that one example, if you could put all three, now you got it set up that it will then put the name as AT&T or whatever you want to call it. And when you create the connection between the vendor and the account, we hard code that back into QuickBooks Desktop. So if you went into the vendor, hit edit, and you go through all those steps to do it, what that does is every time you pull up and you put that payee name in there, it will suggest the category. So when the transaction, we create a special QBO file, it hard codes the name in. So it, boom, pops, has the names, auto puts the category is the trick, and now you don't have to do as much data entry. We just reduce the clicks by using rules outside of QuickBooks.
Excellent.
Does that help?
Yeah, no, it totally helps. I like I said, I'd missed your presentations when you've done it in the last few weeks, and I was curious how they partnered together. So it very much helps. Yes, thank you.
The one area that, to be super clear on, like when you're talking about Hubdoc and AutoEntry, those are a lot of document-based programs. And the one thing that Vendor Sync does not do is it doesn't actually grab documents. It doesn't process them. However, if you started with Hubdoc or AutoEntry and you pulled the transactions in, we purposely go through the bank feed area so it will catch duplicates. If there are checks already in the system or invoices or bills or whatever, anything that's like payment related wise, it will actually try to suggest and say, suggest match instead of just creating doubles, because we don't go through the back door. That also means it gives you the ability to, if you're doing job costing, you would pull all the transactions in, just like you normally would. You would have to then pull up each transaction, and in QuickBooks, you would open up, do your splits, assign a customer, do whatever you need there. It literally, it's all about reducing the time for the bank data, getting that information over.
Excellent.
And I think it's critical, like you said before, that the timing of pulling in the information and which apps you want to use first, that's got to be absolutely critical to get all that to work together.
Workflow, yeah. I have another question that's kind of diverted a little bit back to Shay and Megan, probably, because it sounds like you guys have worked with both Hubdoc and AutoEntry. When I first started using Hubdoc, I found it so user-friendly. I mean, I did not take me much time to learn that one. It was quick.
Really?
I gotta say some of the other ones were not so much. So now that you've used Hubdoc, and it sounds like AutoEntry is our other candidate, especially for desktop, how do you think AutoEntry's learning curve was in comparison to Hubdoc?
So I think part of the issue, we never really had a great adoption of Hubdoc within our because we kind of tested it with our own firm, and the reason we implemented it with clients was not for them to be necessarily uploading all their receipts, but to have the vendor integrations with Hubdoc. And we just found those to not be as stable as we wanted them to be. So they just, a lot of times they were more work than they felt like they were worth.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like I'm still kind of getting an idea of how to use AutoEntry to my best abilities. And I never really got to that point with Hubdoc. So I don't know.
Okay.
I probably should have taken more time and learned more about the receipt functionality of Hubdoc. But I think the things that really drew me to AutoEntry is that it's kind of designed more around sort of the manual part, where like all the receipts that you have to take pictures of, the things that can't be fetched by a tool like Hubdoc. And I liked that it could do income. That was a big thing.
Income's
for me.
a good one, yeah.
Especially with our clients, we only work with nonprofits, and they just seem to get money from who knows where. They just seem like, I don't know where they're getting money from, but like they found some in their back pocket, and it's like everywhere. And it's all just like, I don't know, it feels like we're getting crumpled deposit slips and all this different stuff. And I'm trying to get AutoEntry to like support deposit slips at some point, but those are the kind of things that I'm trying to use AutoEntry to solve.
Does AutoEntry have good customer support, good customer service?
I would say, yeah, they've got, I contact them all the time, and they generally solve my problems pretty quick. Sometimes I wish it feels like parts of their app are a little glitchy, and they've got a few bugs that maybe need to be worked out.
Give them patience. It's hard.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I think our issue too was we initially used, Hubdoc, really thinking it was going to pull a lot of documents and bank statements and transactions. And I think at that point, the vast majority of our clients were still on desktop where it doesn't sync there. So it's possible that it would do more of what we need it to do now, that the majority of our clients are on QBO. Although I gotta say, I found the interface kind of clunky. It felt very, old style Windows Explorer kind of interface.
Hubdoc?
Yeah, that felt really clunky to me.
Yeah. I have some clients that just I don't ever really see them, and I need their source documents, and I don't really care about them fetching, but I need their source documents, and they're small clients, and it's been working wonderful. I've liked it. A lot of
other stuff, because we're completely remote, right? We don't go into any of our clients.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, we'll go in and meet them, but we don't go in and do any of their work or pick up their stuff.
Right.
So, they're shooting their bills to bill.com. They're dropping stuff in a share file inbox for us. And so figuring out to be able to limit how many tools we're asking them to use is becoming a thing. But I really love ShareFile. I love that we can use it as our shared, file cabinet, and also that for like Excel documents, we can both actually work on them. So if we have a cash forecast that we're inputting actuals and they want to be able to update the future, we're not passing it back and forth. We're both working in the same.
With that, Seth does that a lot. He uses, whether it's ShareFile or Google, Bilbies. Actually, that's not a good example, but he has all these forms like you, Megan, that maybe go to a shared drive. But what I like about Hubdoc is it's a shared platform, but I'm not keying in anything. It automatically attaches the vendor name it's already memorized that, the dollar amount, the date, and it's in QuickBooks. I haven't touched one number on my 10 key or my keyboard. I just say, yes, this is what it is, click, click, and it's entered. So that's, I guess, my question for you folks who are doing, shared files and the attachments are going in there. I guess you're just doing bank downloads. You're just doing the downloads, but then are you losing the detail that some of us need for our properties of landscaper, cleaning, and it's on this property?
Yeah, we're not doing anything really.
You're all nonprofit.
Yeah, so it all has to be pretty much real time, and it needs to be accrual, and it needs to be detailed, and part of the reason we did it, we went back and forth. There were a lot of things I liked about Hubdoc. Shay was the one that didn't like it. I liked to push it.
You guys hear her talk about how clunky it was?
Except
when she thinks something's clunky, it's not gonna get any adoption.
I really like things to be pretty. I do. Like the user interface is a big deal to me. I hate it.
And I think another issue that we were trying to solve is we wanted there to be one place where our clients knew where to put their stuff. And a lot of their stuff is income. And as far as I know, Hubdoc can't process income, even if it's a receipt.
No, you guys definitely have that issue to address. So how are you recognizing the expenses? You're just purely downloading them from the bank? How are you getting into QuickBooks?
We try to get receipts for everything, and then we.
Are you keying it in?
A lot of it. Most of what I do is keying in bills in bill.com.
Yeah, but you're having to key in. That's actually what I like about Hubdoc is I'm not keying anything.
Yeah.
I uploaded it and I push buttons.
Mm-hmm. That sounds nice.
But you guys have a lot of income, so I get that.
Yeah.
That's huge. I have some nonprofit clients too. I have a little bit of a mix. Linda, maybe for you, my question would be, since you have some properties as well, how are you getting their source documents so that you're dividing it up and itemizing the expenses for them? Either Linda.
Or Linda Artisani.
Either one. I think you both have properties, right?
Well, yeah. I have basically yes and no. One is I manage a 4-unit apartment building. So I just key that in depending on how I deposit it. Mm-hmm. I don't do invoices or receive payments. I just enter it as a deposit of rental income.
So I'm talking about the expenses when you need to itemize all the expenses for the different properties.
No, I have one property, four units.
Okay.
In that data file.
What about Linda Artisani? Do you have multiple units, so you need to tag by property?
Yeah, we actually own, one company has 5 buildings in it, and we have to classify all the expenses.
Right.
There's like 100 units altogether. So I have to do that. And I actually, most of the bills come in, like the electric bills, they come in for the building, right? But they come in for the one building. So I actually have it coded in Hubdoc. Bill comes directly into Hubdoc. It gets coded to the class. I got it already auto set up, auto synced, and it just pushes across for me.
So you're not putting it in a shared file like Google or share file. You use Hubdoc.
Well, yeah, I use Hubdoc, but it also backs it up to ShareFile. And then every year at the end, I actually pull all the receipts down and put them in a file for year end. So that way, if it's audited, I've got the year in a little file. Okay. So I do it that way. But even like with credit cards too, like we have one, it drives me crazy. We also have another property that's an LLC that's outside of the corporate shield of the S Corp. And that one, we have one credit card that the manager uses. He manages all of them. And it's a pain in the butt. I'd like another credit card for that building because it's not a lot of expenses, but it's the laziness of not getting it. I have to move money around and make all these entries for something that should be so simple. But
I get it.
Even with Hubdoc, you can pull in the receipts. Like he snaps the picture, he puts the property on it, and then I code it to the property and to classify it because it's going to be classified by property at the end of the year.
Yeah, and see, that's where I think I would prefer Hubdoc, but I have heard of people using ShareFile, and I was just curious because I felt like that was maybe a little more manual because you got it in the file, but now you still got to get it in QuickBooks, where Hubdoc just puts it right into QuickBooks for me instantly.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. And I'm also considering getting rid of ShareFile because that's also really expensive. And now Seth's been talking so much about G Suite and how secure it is. And I'm thinking, why do I need ShareFile? I pay $225 a quarter for it, and maybe I don't need it. And maybe I need it. I can buy Smartsheet with my ShareFile.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about G Suites too. I think I might have to put that on a Zoom request for know us how to use that. But yeah, okay. Well, this has been very insightful. I got to say, I've appreciated hearing how other people are implementing it for their practices.
Comment on ShareFile. If you get the one that is branded, that when people go there, they see your company name in that is expensive.
That's what I have.
Know that. So when they go to qbqueen.sharefile.com and they see the ShareFile brand, not my brand.
Oh.
I think I pay $120 every 3 months. So I'm paying $40 a month, which is very reasonable.
I'm paying $225 every quarter. So to have I don't really care if my name's on it, to be honest with you. For that.
Yeah, so talk to them.
Can't hear you.
You're a little blurry. Garbled.
You're muffled. Oh, I can mute you, right?
No, my bad. I'm using the mic. I'm trying to make it to where I don't get the feedback. But with ShareFile, you also get electronic signature, writing signature, which is kind of rare, but it does better than nothing. And then it does have some they call it workflows, where you can make requests and set up like templates for people to pull in. So those are some unique things that you can find ways to deal with it through Google and G Suite and everything else, but you would be interlinking different parts. With that being said, I hate writing signature. I wish I had more control. It was like, it doesn't look good. Sounds like better, but the value is there.
I have that in my 17 hats though, so I don't even need that either. So I don't need it.
Matthew, I just glanced over at the chat column where you guys have been chatting in there. You want to tell us about File This?
How are we doing, Gina, for time?
We're just about out, but we're okay. I mean, we can continue and talk as long as we want to. So,
Super
does anybody
of it.
use File This?
Yeah, File This it's a competitor to to Hubdoc, but its focus is specifically the document aggregation. So it's not designed to specifically link up to QuickBooks or anything else, but you can go set it up for a very cost-effective price and make different connections to payroll, to utility bills, all of those type of things.
It does not sync with QuickBooks?
It does not. So what that would do, listening to you guys, I guess I need to take another look at Hubdoc because I've never had much success with Hubdoc. I think part of it was trying to get clients to actually send the documents. And when we did use it was for checks. it was a joke because every check you have to manually code one at a time, and their process is silly. It's so slow. But I mean, the fetching the documents and pushing it in, I could see where that would be a big improvement. We haven't been utilizing or touching that.
And you know, the checks, you just make sure the client starts using QuickBooks checks, then they're in the system, then they just match them. You can skip the step of handwritten checks.
Where I've had my success with Hubdoc is the clients I'm using it with they use primary credit card. Very few checks, but they do have some checks. They just scan the image of the check because they have written the checks. They don't even write them. They don't write them in QuickBooks, but that's okay. These are very small startup companies, and it's mostly for credit card reconciliations for the ones that just to clarify, and it's been beautiful.
Yeah, but if you have the check thing, I mean, that's where you want LedgerSync, because then you can get in and really manipulate the checks.
Yeah, full disclosure, obviously everybody knows I'm a huge LedgerSync fan. I'm really close friends with the ownership. So on the check side of it, which was the big portion for us, the checks are 10 times better for the information on LedgerSync. Bank feeds are horrible with everybody. I mean, Wells Fargo's website's down, or it was down, right? So
Still is.
because of that, we didn't need the transactions. I wanted the transactional data, and LedgerSync was better there. I liked the checks better the other side. We always had a tough time getting our clients to even get the emails going over to Hubdoc. So like we had to set up like email rules, everything else. So we just weren't successful in the implementation. But for workflow wise, like it sounds like it could, if we're doing true BPO, it would be great.
And I think, Shay, let me know, but I think you can connect, like you can have, there's like a fetching in AutoEntry that utilizes LedgerSync, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely right. So LedgerSync is what's bringing the statements in for them now, and they're processing it.
Yeah.
I connected them.
How did that work? I haven't tried that yet.
I haven't actually used. I mean, I connected the companies, knowing the two of them. Like, so
I need to try the LedgerSync integration with AutoEntry, because that would, if it works with some of our, because one of the issues is that we have all nonprofits, and they all have tiny little local banks that they use, and a lot of them aren't supported by Hubdoc, and maybe I don't know. I have to look through.
Yeah, LedgerSync's better because you can actually pay to have them hook up a bank that's not on any bank, and it's cheap. And actually, LedgerSync is way cheaper because the process is like $45, and you get a whole bunch of accounts on it too. So it is actually a cheaper program, less expensive. I shouldn't say cheap because it's similar to Hubdoc. I mean, like you said, you know, I went on QuickBooks Online today, and then PNC wasn't working. And I went on Hubdoc. Oh, PNC's not working. So it's the bank. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Then what do you do, right? So
you take a day off.
So I want to ask Sarah's question, Sarah Laidlaw. She must not have her mic and phone. Okay, it just went down. She's saying that 90% of her checks are accounts payable payments. She wants to automate more of the AP bills. Memos are critical, splits, reading the actual vendor list, and chart of accounts.
Wouldn't that be vendor sync?
Vendor sync with Bill.com.
I think there's going documents, if I'm right, Sarah? You're looking for documents and having it automatically set up the AP?
She says checks are AP payments.
Sarah, can you talk?
Well, y'all were talking about, y'all were talking about bank feeds and checks and all that, but you know, we're so accrual, by the time the checks come in, I really don't need anything because the checks, all that's being processed through Bill.com or MineralTree. It's the bills. And
Sarah,
so
we're starting to use AutoEntry for that.
Yeah, that's why that's why I was real, I've seen one demo of AutoEntry and the memos was not there. But
I might wait.
Where it is. I don't know where it is on their roadmap.
I think I would wait just because I found that there's a lot of glitches with the Bill.com integration.
Well, yeah, I don't even need it to interface with AutoEntry because I use MineralTree now. So MineralTree enables me to stay in QuickBooks for everything, and I don't have to put bills in. The putting bills in Bill.com made me crazy. It just
Yeah,
slows me
it's
down.
making me crazy. That's
Yeah,
most of my
so
work.
so what I was looking for was something that could do the bill approvals, have the audit trail, you know, all that fun stuff, but I didn't want to work in their app. I just wanted the owners to be able to push a button and pay. So MineralTree enables me to, we're wicked fast in accounts payable, you know, but then I started looking at the AutoEntry and things, and even though we're wicked fast, I'd like to speed it up even more. Because that way you can use quick fill. I'm using my own vendor names. When I set up a new vendor, I can set it up properly. You know, I got to set it up, you know, just right for the 1099. And so I really want to stay in QuickBooks. So it's getting those documents from the client. And right now, the best scenario is a scan snap that's configured to go to Hubdoc, and they know that anything that goes in that scanner goes to Sarah. So it can be a note. I said, I wanted it that simple. It's like you put it in the scanner and it scans. It's going to get to Sarah. Well, it's going to Hubdoc, and we get all kinds of stuff up there, mail and notes. But you know, there's no interface to desktop. With QBO, we could start maybe pushing to QBO, but so Hubdoc's okay. It's a little pricey if we're not also fetching all the bank stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, our nonprofits, little banks.
Mm-hmm.
I know BB&T wasn't on the list, and they just merged with SunTrust, so I don't know. I don't know. Document management and being able to find those images in case, you know, for the financial audit or in case of other audit is so critical. And getting the documents in a fashion that is easy for the client. We're all fighting the same thing. So.
Marriott, thanks for having a very nerdy conversation.
On document management.
Yeah, it's important, especially
Well, you know what?
nonprofits too. And
well, I have a client that's we just had turned over again, but anyway, this guy came in and he decided to go paperless, and he was only there a couple months, and the new gal, we can't find anything. And finally I said, you know what? I bet he's been shredding it because there were no files. And so I said, we've got to get on the server and start hunting around. And sure enough, we started finding scans of things. But without a proper document management system or a standard naming convention for files or OCR or whatever, just because you scan something, you know, what if you miss a page? You know, I don't shred for at least a year. I mean, I may throw it in a box and say I'm going to shred it later, but this, so for 6 months, he has no files.
wow.
We didn't know if the business license had been filed or not.
Wow.
So we got on the server. We had to get admin rights and all this to get into all these folders. And sure enough, we started finding stuff. But, you know, so just because you have a server, that can be, you see how people file. They'll have folders and, you know, and they end up dumping stuff and mixing up years. And so you have to have some sort of a system. I do like Hubdoc in that I can push copies anywhere I want. I love that.
I love their searching. You can search by an amount, a name.
I
Their
know.
searching is awesome. So
searching is important.
The tags are
I
cool.
have documents everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah, finding's more important, Mark says.
Okay.
Great stuff
Anyway,
today.
there's no perfect, you know, I think what it's boiling down to again, this is just no perfect solution, and we're still cobbling things
and that's
together.
what Beth has always said. You have a toolbox, and one tool may work for one client, but it may not work
Right.
for another. So it's just good to know what's out there, and then you can work with your client to decide what's going to work best. But this has been very helpful for me. Shay, you had lots of information with your experience. Thank you so much. This is a good dialogue.
problem.
Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody for coming on today. This was great. great conversation on document management. So we're going to end here for today. I am going to preview this tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We'll be doing the YouTube premiere and a Facebook watch party. So hope to see you all then.
All right.
All right.
Nice weekend. Bye.